Hello, back again with hopefully the conclusion to this absolute mess in relation to OpenAI. Basically, a couple of things have changed, a couple of updates, which I'm going to sort of present to you here. And a large portion of what happened in the previous video still stands. So if you haven't watched my previous video, go watch that. But if you're all caught up and you're all up to date on what's going on here, then by all means keep watching. Sam Altman, just to give a brief summary, the CEO of OpenAI was fired, basically, sort of Friday last week. I'm recording this the 22nd, so this would have been the 18th, I want to say. Friday last week, anyway. I don't math so good sometimes. Basically, he was fired randomly. No one really knew what was going on, and it turned out that there'd been some talks behind sort of the board's back. Apparently, it wasn't being candid enough, according to the board. My sort of takeaway from that was that after partnering up with Microsoft, as sort of I concluded in the previous video, with the tweet from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, I came to the conclusion that both Sam and Microsoft have been in direct talks, basically, and the board isn't particularly on board with that. They're maybe not quite in the same place as Sam is. Sam is probably working on moving things forward, moving the product forward, and the board are trying to put the brakes on a little bit for whatever reason. The public should know about why, by the way, if that's if there's something to be concerned about there. But anyway, so whether that happened or not, that was just my sort of speculation. That's what I think happened. Not much more to it than that. However, there has been developments. So not long after I put that video out, Sam put a couple of cryptic tweets out. It reads, "Satya, my top priority remains to ensure OpenAI continues to thrive. We are committed to fully providing continuity of operations to our partners and customers. The OpenAI/Microsoft partnership makes it very doable." Now, it's a kind of a weird tweet to make when Satya has just announced that you're heading a new team at Microsoft, and now you're talking about this collaboration of both OpenAI and Microsoft, almost like you're still part of OpenAI, right? And before that, actually, he also said, "We have more unity and commitment and focus than ever before. We are all going to work together some way or another. And I'm so excited. One team, one mission." So basically, Sam's vision, Sam's idea is that sort of Microsoft and OpenAI are one and the same. They are that handshake meme, right? It's looking like he's not leaving, basically. He is not effing leaving. So basically, that's exactly what happened. He stayed, basically. So just not too long after, it was actually today, as of the 22nd, sort of a couple of days later, it's been announced by OpenAI themselves that they've reached an agreement in principle with Sam Altman to return to OpenAI as CEO, with a new initial board of Brett Taylor, Larry Summers, and Adam D'Angelo. We're collaborating to figure out the details. Thank you so much for your patience through this. People are obviously making jokes about it, blah, 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 because this whole thing's been a massive meme. What a wild roundabout of events. What I think led to this is a good chunk of the board members who were initially involved in the firing of Sam, I think, have since stepped down. One of them, namely, being Ilya, who was one of the guys who initially got Sam on the Google Meet call to fire him. He expressed deep regret in his actions, as he puts out in this tweet here. "I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company." That was probably the turning point in which, I assume anyway, in which the OpenAI's got themselves back into a position where there's still place for Sam, basically. And Sam's obviously entertained the idea of going back, because that is where all his work is. That's everything he's achieved so far, and he wants to continue that with OpenAI, rather than try to move all that stuff to Microsoft. It's also a bit less messy, I suppose. So yeah, it's a bit of a wild ride, but hopefully that's the end of it. But wait, there's more. There was something. I don't know how much credibility there is to this, because, well, you'll see what I mean once you read through it. It doesn't seem like there's much credibility to it. It's a lot of speculation and tinfoil hat stuff. But Elon Musk is always involved. Apparently got wind of a little letter addressed to him, apparently from someone from OpenAI, apparently. Now, this has since been deleted. It was on GitHub. It's been deleted. It wasn't meant to be there. Someone has managed to share it, and it's been deleted. And yeah, it's thanks to the good old Wayback Machine that I have access to it now. So I'm going to read through it and show you what used to be there. So it's quite long. I'm not going to read through the entire thing, but the gist of it is that this person here in this case, they were directing it to the directors of OpenAI, and then this, in turn, was leaked to Elon Musk. Is what I should have said more accurately. Of all people, I don't know why Elon Musk, but maybe because he was a former investor. I don't know. Anyway. Basically, it's addressed to them, and they are expressing concern, obviously, the recent events at OpenAI, and then particularly the allegations of misconduct against Sam Altman. Okay, so we are the former OpenAI employees who left the company during a period of significant turmoil and upheaval. As you have now witnessed what happens when you dare stand up to Sam Altman, perhaps you can understand why so many of us have remained silent for fear of repercussions. We can no longer stand by silent. And that's a pretty ominous statement to make. And it's the first anyone's hearing of any of it. Judging by all the heart emojis on the app formerly known as Twitter, I don't think that's the case for everyone. I think this might be a small minority that's only just become vocal for whatever reason. Anyway, the reason I'm skeptical about this is because when we read further into it, you'll see why. So, they're asking the board of directors to expand the scope of Emmett's investigation. Emmett is the former CEO of Twitch. I know. And he's also or he was, for like a day, the interim CEO. They were asking him to increase the scope of his investigation to include an examination of Sam Altman's actions since August 2018, when OpenAI began transitioning from a non-profit to a for-profit entity. Now, that obviously in itself is quite an interesting time, because that can be quite a messy process. It's not something that businesses commonly do. It's not something, arguably, that they should do. It's always been a bit of an interesting kind of suspicious thing that OpenAI have done there. A lot of people are skeptical of them due to that fact that they've went from a non-profit to a for-profit suddenly. It was quite weird. It still is quite weird. But anyway, I'm sure it was a very interesting transition period, even internally. So. Anyway, issue an open call for private statements from former OpenAI employees who resigned, were placed on medical leave, or were terminated during this period. So only target the disgruntled former employees to get this information, is how that reads to me. Surely they want to take statements from everyone who was employed or sort of laid off at that time, anyone who was relevant or around at that time. Right, not just specifically targeting certain people who might share a view. Right, protect the identities of those who come forward to ensure that they are not subjected to retaliation or other forms of harm. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you don't want to be doing that, right? So I agree with that. We believe that a significant number of OpenAI employees were pushed out of the company to facilitate its transition to a for-profit model. This is evidenced by the fact that OpenAI's employee attrition rate between January 2018 and July 2020 was in the order of 50%. That's quite the statement to make. This is kind of the start of the statements without anything backing it, basically. That might be true. That might be the case. But I'm not seeing any sort of proof that that was the case. That they're just kind of claiming that 50% of the employees left during that time, based on nothing. Anyway, throughout our time at OpenAI, we witnessed a disturbing pattern of deceit and manipulation by Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, who was the member of the board who stepped down when Sam was initially fired as well. Driven by their insatiable pursuit of achieving artificial general intelligence, their methods, however, have raised serious doubts about their true intentions and the extent to which they genuinely prioritise the benefit of all humanity. Yeah, okay. Based on what, right? Many of us, initially hopeful about OpenAI's mission, chose to give Sam and Greg the benefit of the doubt. However, as their actions became increasingly concerning, those who dared to voice their concerns were silenced or pushed out. The systematic silence of dissent created an environment of fear and intimidation, effectively stifling any meaningful discussion about the ethical implications of OpenAI's work. Again, where's the evidence? Show us the evidence. Where is it? Well, I'm hoping to find it in these bullet points. Let's see if we find them. We provide concrete, remember this word, concrete examples of Sam and Greg's dishonesty and manipulation, including Sam's demand for researchers to delay reporting progress on specific secret research initiatives, which were later dismantled for failing to deliver sufficient results quickly enough. Those who questioned this practice were dismissed as bad culture fits and even terminated, some just before Thanksgiving 2019. There's a bit to unpack here already, right? First of all, again, where's the evidence? It's a sort of recurring theme, right? There's nothing really backing any of this stuff up. This might be true. I'm not saying it's not true. It could be true. But you're discrediting yourself by not providing evidence, right? And this kind of stuff, you need to provide evidence or you're only going to damage your case, all right? Anyway, this sort of claim that people were questioned, or people who questioned this practice were dismissed because of, this, because they questioned it and not because of something else, bad culture fits, for example. How can you prove that? That's the kind of thing it's entirely speculation. As well as that, they could be right? It could be, there could be some big conspiracy that they're just, saying this stuff as a matter of convenience, but what they're actually trying to do is silence those who have different opinions. That could be the case, but we'll never know that because there's no credibility to this whatsoever. And I'm only on the first point. Anyway, let's move on. Greg's use of discriminatory language against a gender transitioning team member. Oh, this is spicy. Despite many promises to address this issue, no meaningful action was taken except for Greg simply avoiding all communication with the affected individual, effectively creating a hostile work environment. This team member was eventually terminated for alleged underperformance. Yeah, so this, again, it might be the case, right? I understand there is issues when it comes to this stuff. There is very much social issues in the workplace when it comes to when it comes to things like people gender transitioning and things like that. It's becoming a more common occurrence, and in a lot of workplaces, in a lot of sort of social settings, some people aren't necessarily adjusting to it and are not reacting to that kind of thing in the best way, in the most appropriate way. That stuff does happen, especially in maybe less regulated work environments. I'm from the UK, right? There's a lot of laws around this stuff here. Yeah, it's just a claim, right? There's nothing here to suggest that is why any of this happened. It doesn't explain why Greg wasn't talking to that particular member of staff at any given time. That doesn't explain, discriminatory language. What discriminatory language as well, first of all. Give us an example, right? What was it in particular that they or the person saying this took offense to? We don't really know. And what created that hostile work environment? Just avoiding all communication. How do you know they were avoiding communication? Like, what was it they were doing specifically? Can you give specific examples of, the avoidance? What was it that, give you that impression. And to top that off, give evidence of it. Team member was eventually terminated for alleged underperformance. No proof of that. You cannot possibly prove something like that, because if you could, if it was that obvious and there was enough evidence to suggest that was the case, there'd been a lot of legal trouble. They wouldn't do that. Again, I'm not saying it's not the case, right? But if you're going to make claims like this, you have to prove it. You have to have concrete evidence, concrete examples, or concrete evidence of those examples. That word concrete that they use at the start, it's not very concrete. I don't think they know what that word means. But anyway, it's kind of the same for a lot of these, right? I'm just going to quickly jump through a few of these just to kind of, sum things up here, right? Because it's quite long-winded. So, Sam directed IT and operations staff to conduct investigations into employees, including Elia, without the knowledge and consent of management. Okay, right, spying, they might have been doing, but you need to have evidence. Sam's discreet yet routine exploitation of OpenAI's non-profit resources to advance his personal goals, particularly motivated by his grudge against Elon following their falling out. That'll be why this was sent to Elon. Again, this is hearsay, right? That might be the case, but we don't know, and we never will. Most likely. The operations team tacit acceptance of the special rules that apply to Greg, navigating intricate requirements to avoid being blacklisted. Brad Lightcap's unfulfilled promise to make public the documents detailing OpenAI's capped profit structure and the profit cap for each investor. Yeah, okay, it's not very great that he's broken a promise if he did indeed promise to make these documents public. But at the same time, not really doing anything inherently wrong in terms of in the eyes of the law, right? Unless this stuff is required to be disclosed by law, but by the sounds of it, I don't think it is. Because again, if that was the case, there'd be in a lot of legal trouble right now. Anyway, in the last one, Sam's incongruent promises to research projects for compute quotas, causing internal distrust and infighting. It's sort of more promises not being met sort of thing. So yeah, with all that, despite the mounting evidence of Sam and Greg's transgressions, there was literally no evidence here. But I mean, okay, you can read the rest. I will link it below. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'll link this particular snapshot that I'm looking at on Wayback Machine. So, and yeah, you guys can have a read through this yourself and come up with your own opinion. But I don't see any evidence here. With that said, that's hopefully the end of this whole thing. Sam's back at OpenAI. I'm assuming he's going to stay there now. They're going to be closely collaborating with Microsoft, and I think now more than ever they're going to be even closer sort of to Microsoft, given the nature of how all this started. I think in the end Sam probably has gotten his way, and they're going to continue to move forward, and probably at quite a pace as well, I would think. But yeah, we'll never know exactly why all this happened, I guess, unless something comes to light. If something comes to light, I might cover it. But to be honest, I think this is probably the end of this for now. We'll see what happens. Anyway, if you like this, like the video, subscribe, comment below, let me know your thoughts, theories, tinfoil hat conspiracies, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.